Hello, everybody. This is Dante Davis from Saginaw STEM, and this is Hey, Bay City.
Yeah, you crushed it. I don't want to say the best ever intro because that might hurt somebody's feelings. But we'll say it. We'll say it's really good. Dante Davis from Saginaw to SpaceX and Tesla and then back again. I'm so excited to be here talking to you this morning, man.
Man, this is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting, one, to see what you've brought to this area, but then also see how it's expanding, and we'll get to the event that you're hosting here in Bay City. And so it's very cool to see kind of the hometown kid return to his roots and doing something really, really incredible for our kids here in the Saginaw and in Bay City, Great Lakes Bay region. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, that's where it started, and that's where it's kind of always going to be for me, is that I'm just the kid here from Saginaw.
Yeah.
And so when I do my events and see these kids, that's what I see. I see me thinking and wanting to use my hands and my thinking skills and learn and critical thinking, develop. That's where I developed all of those things. And so that's where I see these kids doing today.
Yeah. Maybe let's recap a little bit of your personal story for the folks that don't know it. So you grew up in Saginaw. Kind of take me away from there.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Saginaw. Went through the Saginaw Public School District schools. I started off at Houghton, though. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, really?
I started off my schooling at Houghton.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to Weber Elementary, Weber Middle School, and then on to Saginaw High. From Saginaw High, my guidance counselor, and I always say this one wrong, so I'm getting it right today, is Mr. Foster. Mr. Foster was my guidance counselor. He actually said, hey, you got great grades in math and science. You ever thought about being an engineer? And I'm like, the guy on the back of the choo-choo train? No, I never thought about being that. Because where I lived, we had a train that goes directly behind our house, and it broke the windows every year, a couple times a year.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't want to be a engineer, a caboose engineer. That's all I knew.
I don't want to be riding that train.
No.
Well, I think that's such a good point when we talk about like how to help our kids. Is one of the best ways is just simply making them aware of what's out there. I mean, you hear the word engineer, and a lot of our kids, they don't even know what that means.
They have no clue. Just like I didn't.
Right.
And Mr. Foster, he showed me a list of all the different types of engineers and their salaries. So I went through that list like I was at a fancy restaurant, and I shopped down the right side of the menu where the salaries were, aka the prices.
Yeah.
And I found the ones that were high enough for me, and I go across and say, chemistry, no, I don't want chicken. Go down some more electrical engineer, $80,000. Electrical, no, I don't want that. And I found one that said $86,000, and I went across, and it was mechanical engineering. And I said, hey, if I do this one, can I design and engineer and work on cars for my career? And he said, absolutely, and you'll be able to name how much you get paid for the rest of your career.
Whoa.
I believed him.
Yeah. It sounds like a great deal.
Yeah. So I totally believed him. So I only had two schools that I wanted to go to, which was Georgia Tech and Michigan Tech. And at that time, when I wanted to apply for Georgia Tech, it was the out-of-state fees were too high. And so I only applied to Michigan Tech, went to Michigan Tech, and got my engineering degree. Actually played basketball up there too. Got a walk-on scholarship and played basketball up there at Michigan Tech too, which is what I had a great college life up there. It was awesome.
Yeah. Did your experience at Michigan Tech did it really cement that you had chosen the right career path for you? I mean, here you are in high school, not even knowing what an engineer does, and now you're in Michigan Tech. Was it like, yes, I am in the right place, doing the right thing?
Not right away. It wasn't. I cried probably the first 3.5 weeks.
Yeah,
every single day.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the heck am I doing way up here?
It's a different world up there.
It was tough, man. And then it got really, really cold. So your first test is where it really starts to get
the first
get to
UP
the first
winter.
Finals. So we have our first final exams, and everybody that's not a freshman knows what's going on. So everybody else, all the freshmen is walking to take their test, their finals. Every student on campus has their radio out the window playing Another One Bites the Dust.
Awesome.
Because there's so many people that after that test, you're either going to be here or you're not going to be here.
Wow.
So it's like a tradition up there, just like Winter Carnival.
Yeah. Wow. Wild. So you go through Michigan Tech and you get your degree. Did you have your sights set on a specific company to work for, or were you just throwing your resume out in the world? How did getting employed work?
Yeah, that was it was just like Mr. Foster said. When you graduate from Michigan Tech, you'll be able to name your price. So I actually attended a couple of career fairs that were at Michigan Tech while I was getting ready to graduate, if you will. So I attended a couple of those and got some couple of offers, and then I started my career at Chrysler in Auburn Hills.
Yeah, awesome. So growing up, were you always into cars and working on cars, or is that a love that developed later on?
No, that's what I tell a lot of my students is that my love for cars actually turned into a career. So I always loved cars. I always loved working on them. I always worked on my own cars. I think my brother gave me my first car at 15 or 16. And I started working on it, changing out the whole wire and harnesses and everything. So.
Yeah. What I think is cool about that is you hear, I always loved cars. I always loved working on cars. And you would think that automatically says I'm going to grow up to be a mechanic. I want to work at an auto shop, and you definitely could. But you took another approach with the same kind of passion for cars and kind of working on them from like off the line or in the design phase of it, as opposed to after the fact.
Yeah, my dad worked in the foundry, and so I got to see the working hard part about it. And I knew I wanted no parts of that. I wanted no parts of working hard. I knew that with my education, I can work smart. I can think, and I could get paid for thinking instead of getting paid for hard labor like my dad was doing. And I wanted no parts of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the career process is figuring out what you want to do, but just as important, it's figuring out what you don't want to do.
Yes. And I had two older brothers, so both of them went to the military. So I learned a lot of the grocery store approach from having two older brothers.
Yeah.
So when I go in there, I knew, hey, I don't have to get everything off the shelf. I just get what's good, what I need, or what was good, or what worked for them.
Yeah.
I would keep that or use that.
Yeah. Well, so you started working at Chrysler. What did you do at Chrysler?
At Chrysler, I was a body in white engineer, and body in white is all the sheet metal that goes into the car. It's like a shell, basically. So I was an engineer on that, working on the trunk, the rear end, and the spoiler for the Neon, and then we developed the PT Cruiser as well. So
okay.
That's where I started off at Chrysler, and then I learned very quickly that I wanted to learn the whole car because I knew I would be more valuable to the company and myself.
Right.
If I knew more about the car and around the car. So I started off in body and white, then went to upper body, then went to underbody, and then I transferred to St. Louis to our minivan plant to help us launch the Stow and Go.
Oh.
And so then I stayed there for 3 years. Then I came back and worked in the chassis, the group, and yeah, it was a great time.
Wow, what a great approach to kind of say, hey, I become more valuable the more that I know. I mean, you could have shown up at Chrysler and just said, like, cool, got my job, this is it. But looking at it and saying, well, I need to continue increasing my value as an employee, so I'm going to learn more and more and more about the car.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I knew I didn't want to. I wasn't satisfied with where I was. I had just graduated, so I knew there was so much to learn about the company, about the car, and about my career. I knew my career was just starting. So, yeah.
So, where'd you go from Chrysler?
So from Chrysler, I went to General Motors for a few years, and then I went to Ford for a few years just to make sure I checked all the big three boxes.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great on the resume.
Yeah.
Work for the big three. So I think I teased it at the beginning, SpaceX and Tesla. How did you end up there?
So yeah, that was after I left Ford. I actually, LeBron was about to go to, he had just made his announcement to go to South Beach. He's taking his talents to South Beach. So I did pretty much the same. So
Following the footsteps of the king.
yeah, I went out to California to visit for 2 weeks. And in February of 2013, it was 86 degrees every day. And I came back here, and I'm fast forward, and I came back here, and it was negative 20. And I realized it was like a moment. Mm-hmm. I realized, hey, you're choosing to be cold still. you're making a choice to be cold.
This choice is on you.
Yeah. In that moment, I decided that, hey, I didn't want to be cold anymore. So what are you going to do about it? And while I was in L.A., I was applying for acting jobs because when I was here working at Ford and Chrysler, I had a couple of commercials here.
Really?
So I had a couple of Red Bull commercial, Mattress World.
Really?
I was on this TV show Detroit 187.
I didn't know this.
I had the acting bug already.
I didn't know this.
And so while I was doing this engineering, it was coming so easy to me, Phil, that I felt like I was acting like an engineer. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
So then I started doing my acting, modeling, and all these other things on the side while working as an engineer. And that gave me the bug. And I said, hey, if I can do it here in Detroit, I can do it in LA.
Interesting.
And I actually said, I put out this letter, hey, I'm taking my talents to Los Angeles. So bought a one-way ticket to LA in 2013.
Oh, wow.
And never looked back. I started getting phone calls from LA while I was working.
Oh, really?
Hey, Dante, this is such and such on the TV show. Can you work on the TV show such and such tomorrow?
Oh,
and I was like,
but you're in Detroit.
Yeah. I said, hey, I was quick on my feet too. I said, hey, I'm working on a project right now in Detroit, but I'll be back to LA June 1st. And I just threw out a date. And I moved back to LA June 3rd.
Oh, wow. Do you remember a line from your acting days?
All of my lines were really, really quick. They were like, hey, get out. Hey, no, don't do that. Stop.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it.
See?
I feel moved in my soul. So you moved out to LA without a job, like a permanent full-time job, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I actually did. And I don't tell a lot of people this story. So I actually sold my earrings and paid my rent for a year to live in LA.
Really?
And so I didn't have to worry about my rent for a year. And that was peace of mind, if you will. So I would go to Denny's every morning because I can do breakfast, Wi-Fi, everything for $5. Mm-hmm. I would go to Little Caesars for dinner because I'd get $5 hot and ready, and that could last me for dinner for today and
leftovers
lunch for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that was my daily routine, and I do the Wi-Fi and apply for jobs every day, all day. McDonald's actually declined me, said you were overqualified, so I couldn't even work at McDonald's. So.
Oh, really?
So I started working as a background actor. My cousin showed me how to sign up as a background actor. Started doing that for a while, and that was paying the bills. And right when the rent was about to need to be paid, I got an interview with SpaceX. And I didn't want the job with SpaceX because I just wanted to be an actor. I moved out to L.A.
Wow.
And this is what my vision was. I'm going to move out to L.A., become an actor, and then I'll be able to do something to help kids in Saginaw. I had no idea what that was going to be at all. But I knew that, hey, if I could do it in Detroit, I could do it in L.A. And then I can create some type of platform or whatever that is, and then I'll be able to help kids in Saginaw. So...
Wow. Where's the motivation to help kids in Saginaw come from? Because I mean, most folks, I would imagine, would move out to LA. I'm gonna make it big, and they grind for years and years, and then maybe a couple decades down the road, it pops into their head and say, hey, maybe I should give back. But it seems like that was a motivation for you from the beginning. Where does that come from?
Yeah, it comes from being that kid here in Saginaw. Mm. That's it. I'm that kid that was here that needed those opportunities, and there's not a lot of opportunities here. So I wanted to make sure that I create those opportunities. I wasn't going to keep waiting for somebody. Oh, Saginaw kids need this, or Saginaw needs to create this, or they need to. No, I wanted to be the one that created. I wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and the people complaining all the time about what we don't have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to, like I said, I used to be that kid, that exact kid that I'm trying to help.
So you get this job interview at SpaceX, but you really wanted to be an actor. Tell me about the start at SpaceX.
So yeah, I get the interview, do the interview, and then me and my mom was actually in town in LA. So we're on our way to my cousin's birthday party in Vegas. Right before the interview. That's why I don't want to go. Hey, we got to get on the road. We got to get out of LA. Otherwise, it's going to take us 6 hours.
Right.
So she's, no, you got to go to this shit. Okay, so I go do the interview. They call me on the way to Vegas and say, all right, we want to make you an offer. I'm like, oh, cool. So I actually take the job at SpaceX, and that's once engineering is at least 10 to 12 hours a day, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, okay, acting's on the back burner right now.
Yeah.
But SpaceX was so amazing, Phil.
Tell me why it was amazing. Tell me what you were doing there.
Just a kid from Saginaw building rockets that actually launch and go into outer space.
Wild.
Right downstairs from my desk. This was so mind blowing. Just a rocket from cars, though. That's what was mind blowing, is that I had at least like 15 years in automotive industry at that time. And just the transition from automotive to aerospace instantly.
I mean, here you are in high school, not even thinking like an engineer is that guy that drives the train.
Yeah.
To working on cars to like blasting rockets in outer space.
Yes. It was mind blowing, and I've always had the mindset of, I wish other kids from Saginaw could experience just a portion of the lifestyle that I've been able to live because I said I like cars. And then I developed that into a career in engineering. I wish kids here can experience just a portion of that. And that's why I tell them, just my tech degree changed my whole family, changed the whole dynamic of my family. It changed our entire earning potential as well as our legacy.
Had you had... I think you mentioned 2 brothers going into the military. Did you have any other family members like graduate college, or were you the first or one of the first? Or
I think I had some older cousins and those kind of things that graduated like architecture degrees and those kind of things that were inspiring to me as well.
Oh, wow. What exactly were you doing at SpaceX? What was your job?
So I was a quality assurance engineer. So if we told NASA that we were going to build rocket A with all of these parts, I would go down that list of parts and make sure that we have all of those lists of parts on there. And if we did not, I had to show why we did not. What change notice, what letter, who authorized it, what. So it was pretty intense.
So you're the guy in charge of making sure that you have bolts on the doors, hey?
Correct. Correct.
Wow.
And the correct boat. We have to have the correct revised boat. So if we had made some changes to that boat to make it stronger or something, it has to be the correct revision. Let's say Rev D is the latest. We can't have Rev B on there unless there's somebody else that authorized to not use D.
Yeah.
Wow. It was pretty cool though. It was awesome.
I can't imagine. I have to ask this question because everybody's wondering it. Did you ever see or meet or talk with Elon?
Of course, Elon's, and that's what inspired me more than anything. To do Saginaw STEM in general. To do Saginaw STEM is being around Elon, because he's pretty accessible. He don't have no special office. He don't have only thing he has special is a table in the cafeteria that everybody, it don't have his name on it, but you just know that's Elon's table. Yeah. So you learn very quickly if you attempt to sit there that, hey, probably shouldn't sit there. That's Elon's table.
Suddenly the hush falls over the cafeteria.
Everything.
Everyone stares at you.
So yeah, he's very accessible. Very accessible.
That's cool. So from SpaceX to Tesla, is that how it goes?
Yeah. So SpaceX was right on Crenshaw Boulevard. But and Tesla's design office is right next door to it. but where they build the Teslas is up near Oakland, California, in San Francisco area. So while working at SpaceX, I was just thinking like, man, what would your 15 years of automotive industry experience do to help Tesla? How could you help Tesla? You could probably help Tesla more than you're helping SpaceX. And so prayed about it. Got a job with Tesla is the long story.
Wow.
It's the short story, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. It kind of fits more with your experience. So, I mean, you're spending 15 years working at Big Three.
Yep. And that hurt more than anything, too, because I felt like I was, and this was what's the crazy part, I still felt like I was giving up on my acting dream.
Wow.
Because I felt like this is the path this is the vehicle that I chose to help the kids in Saginaw. I'm getting away from that again to take another job. And I knew this is going to be more than 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
This is pretty intense. So, and the more important part that I didn't like is now I got to leave LA. And that wasn't part of the plan at all.
Now you see yourself like physically getting further from
away.
Where you thought you should be.
Exactly. So this was a really, really tough decision. But again, I got back to where that Mr. Foster conversation.
Yeah.
My guidance counselor. And I got back to that menu that he showed me. And the menu that he showed me, and this was Tesla. I couldn't turn it down.
Yeah.
Is what it boiled down to. I had never made money like that before.
Right.
There's one. And two, the experience to work with SpaceX and Tesla and the project that I had been assigned. It was a no-brainer. So when I got to Tesla, the front door and the back door on the Model X car, the truck, the ones with the Lamborghini doors that go up in the back.
Yeah.
Those doors were crashing if you open both of them at the same time. The front door and the back door would crash into each other.
Oh, really?
So that was my assignment when I got there. Help fix this. And
that sounds kind of fun.
it was awesome. It was intense. It was awesome. It was sleeping at the plant. It was all kind of things.
Yeah.
But I knew like this is your chance.
Yeah, especially going from SpaceX to Tesla. I mean, the door is already halfway open for you with those companies being related, and so like to jump on that opportunity, even though you're feeling like I don't know if this is my thing. I think is such a smart move.
Yeah, and I've prided myself on that because I've asked for that for years and years and years and years, just to have a discerning spirit. To be able to understand what I'm feeling and to know what that is. And so I knew that I was doing the right thing by going to LA because I knew it in my spirit. I knew I was doing the right thing by taking that job with SpaceX. I knew I was doing the right thing at Tesla.
Yeah.
And so being at Tesla really opened up my eyes to how Elon was changing the world. I wanted to be a part of that by starting in Saginaw.
So, brilliant segue to that part of it. I mean, here you are thinking, I'm moving away from my dream of helping kids in Saginaw. I wanted to be an actor and then help kids, but here you are at Tesla. When does the idea for Saginaw STEM really start to take root?
So I was living when I left Tesla and came back to LA because I didn't want to give up on my dream.
Wow.
So I came back. So I saved all of my money though at Tesla. While working there, I literally saved every penny except for rent and living expenses.
Wow. So you're just working at Tesla solely to pile up cash so that you can leave Tesla and go back to LA and
afford to try to act.
Wow. Okay. I love this.
So I call up one of my it's a family friend in LA. Said, hey, I'm back in LA. I need a place to stay for a couple of weeks. I stayed there for 3 years at his place, living in the back of his house in the back of the garage. So I did this for 3 years. While back there is when I developed Saginaw STEM. So I put it on my social media. Literally, I can remember this to this day. Very clearly, I put it on my social media. Hey, I'm starting a after school program to help kids in Saginaw What kind of programs are needed? It was unanimous. Like everybody just said STEM, 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 STEM.
Wow.
I started that day. I got an EIN number. Then every single day I went through my contacts. I'd go through the A's today, the B's tomorrow, the C's the next day, the D's the next day, and I would see who could help me. And I'd just go through and call everybody I knew. Called one of my buddies. I said, hey, I'm about to start helping kids in Saginaw doing STEM. He said, STEM, you need to meet Dr. Calvin Mackey in New Orleans. He's doing STEM NOLA.
The man.
He sent an email with me and Dr. Mackey. He said, hey, Dr. Mackey, Dante's trying to do some STEM in Saginaw. He's my good friend, blah, 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 blah. Dr. Mackey didn't reply at all.
Oh, really?
So I replied, hey, Dr. Mackey, great to virtually meet you and tell him a little bit about my story, blah, 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 blah. I didn't hear back from Dr. Mackey. That was February 22nd, 2019.
Okay.
What I didn't know is Dr. Mackey was asking people in Saginaw, from Saginaw, hey, do you know this Dante cat?
Ah.
And he asked actually the right person.
So you got lucky is what you're saying?
That's exactly correct. So when they say what you know is who you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I always treat people right, because you never know who you're going to need.
Absolutely the truth. The importance of having a good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're like, who knows who he might have talked to? And
Exactly.
like, had you burned a lot of bridges and, you know, been sloppy or whatever, you know, he could have asked that person and the gate would have closed and you'd never hear from him again.
Never again.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't from February to June.
Yeah, he was checking you out.
Yeah. And so in June, I finally heard back from him. And he said, I set up a meeting with him. It was like June 20-something. So I set up a meeting with him, a Zoom call. And he said, if you're serious, then you need to be at my next event on July 3rd or July 7th in New Orleans. Rocket Day. I got off that call, booked a ticket. Me and Alexis Thomas booked our tickets to New Orleans. We're going to New Orleans to Rocket Day. Went to Rocket Day, and there were like 500 or 600 kids, Phil.
Oh my goodness.
And like way over 1,000 people.
Are they like building the rocket?
They're building, every kid gets to build a rocket and launch it.
Oh.
Every age. It was mind-blowing. And it was sponsored by Boeing.
Oof.
It was mind-blowing. So I came away from that with one question. When can I have my first event?
Yeah.
I had my next event the next month. And we've been doing STEM Saturdays ever since.
Oh my goodness. Was that kind of the turning point for you where your sights kind of moved from making acting work to making this event work?
Yeah, I figured, oh man, this was another epiphany. So I had this, I'm sitting at my kitchen table in LA, and I'm like, I'm getting all these great, I switched agents. So now I'm getting all these great auditions for the shows that I dreamed of doing. But I'm not booking any of them. But they're calling me back. So they like me. But I keep going back for these second chance, third chance auditions. Callbacks is what they call them. But I'm not booking anything. So I get tired of that. Quick. And I ask, hey, God, what is going on? I've been out here 7 years. You know I'm trying to help kids. Why won't you help me help kids? I'm going on all these auditions. What's going on? He said, you don't need acting to help kids. I said, wait a minute. What? Why are you just now telling me that then? What do I need then? Use what I've already given you. You've been in engineering over 20-something years now. Use that to help kids. Okay. From there, I never applied for another acting job.
Wow.
The next morning, as soon as I made that decision, the next morning, I went to breakfast. And I had on one of these Saginaw STEM hoodies. And some gentleman, I was working still. I had another job then. So I was working on my laptop. And so I couldn't talk to this guy, but my buddy was there. And he said, you guys are in education? But I'm on a Zoom call with my camera on. I can't talk to them at all, but
Yeah.
I could hear them kind of.
Yeah.
So my buddy tells him all about Saginaw STEM. This guy gets up to go and gives me his card and said, let me know where I can send a donation. Oh, man, I got to get off this call. I got to get off this call right now. What the heck? Okay. So I turned my camera off. And then I put my headphones down. Whatever's going to go on that call, it's going to go on that call. So
Yeah.
Then I introduced myself to him, talked to him. The next morning, he wired us $3,000.
Oh, wow.
Things like that kept happening, Phil. Just every day, something would happen to let me know, hey, you're headed in the right path. And so that's when I knew, like, something's about to happen with Saginaw STEM. And then just the STEM Saturdays just took off. And it was great reception here because of the demand and the need. Just took off here.
There was when STEM Saturdays in Saginaw started. I remember just the enthusiasm about it when we did a story on Riverfront Saginaw about it. Just the community rallying around you, around the program, around fulfilling the need, and it was something that I really respect about how you went about starting this was you asked the community like what do you need? And you listened to the community and you filled that need, and then you also asked for help. You were going through the contact and saying, okay, today's A's, tomorrow's B's, because you realized if this is going to work, it's going to take more than just me. Mm-hmm. It's going to take lots of people, contacts, relationships, random people in coffee shops donating $3,000. It's going to take more than just me to make this work. And I respect that so much about how you've gone about creating this thing.
Yeah, I knew when I started this, and that was my whole idea of starting this. I know I'm gonna help 10 to 20 kids with my funding, with my resources. That's all I wanted to do. I'm just gonna focus on helping those because I started with an after-school program. Mm-hmm. I didn't know Dr. Mackey at that time. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I was gonna help 100 kids a month type of thing. So when I started it, I'm just gonna help these 20 kids in my after-school program with my money. So all the money I had saved from Tesla, I'd used to start and fund Saginaw STEM for the first 2.5 years. Wow. Before I ever started getting grants or funding or help.
Awesome.
So that's how Saginaw STEM got started.
Crazy. So let's do a 101 of what a STEM Saturday at Saginaw STEM is, and then we'll talk about the STEM Fest coming to Bay City.
Awesome. Yeah, STEM Saturday is a 3-hour hands-on STEM event that we host once a month with a different STEM theme. So coming up this coming Saturday, we're doing Newton's Laws of Force and Motion, where we'll teach the kids all of Newton's Laws of Force and Motion, and we'll actually build cars. The younger kids will build a push-powered car, where they push it and it go. Mm-hmm. The bigger kids will build a motorized car. Mm-hmm. And each grade group will have a race for some of the Saginaw STEM money. And this is the big thing of all of our events. So when we kick off our STEM Saturdays, we kick it off at the Saginaw African Cultural Festival with our buoyancy and density and have a boat race. This one is our car race with the kids, and this is huge. So STEM Saturday is a huge hit with their get to develop their critical thinking and hands-on skills, and everything that they build at STEM Saturday they get to take home with them.
Awesome. I love your approach of putting them in real world situations. It's more than just here's the PowerPoint about Newton's laws and then there's a multiple choice test at the end. If you're paying attention, you'll get a sticker and then you can all go home. But you're actually building the car and you're solving all the problems that come along with that. Not only that, you're figuring out how do I work with people on my team and how do I communicate with them, and then there's this goal at the end of an actual race and I want to win and I can actually win money, and putting kids in those real world situations while also learning really critical skills. I think that's the magic sauce.
No doubt about it at all. And that's part of their design phase when they're designing their car. Hey, where do you want to put the motor and why? Where do you want to put the batteries and why? Where do you want to put that button? You sure you want to put all that tape on there? You sure you want to do that? Because all of that's going to matter in the race.
Yeah.
And so that we have a design process where they design the car, and then they have a testing phase. You can go over there and test your car out. If it's not doing what you want, come on back and redesign it, re-engineer it.
Cool.
Because that's what engineering is. Engineering is not a one-time thing.
Yeah.
You're always going to make it better, make it lighter, make it faster, make it stronger, and make it more efficient, more effective, more fundamentally sound.
I also love about this is that it confronts kids with making mistakes. Like, hey, I did put too much tape on that. Why is it going so slow? Why is this wheel catching on it? Like all of these things, and really showing them that mistakes are part of that process of learning, rather than a failure, and rather than, well, you got an F on that test and now you're completely incapable and there's no hope for you. And no, this is all part of it. Like you wrap that battery compartment with too much tape, and now you know not to do that, and now you're better. So keep going.
Yeah, engineers learn quick to hurry up and fail. The faster you fail, the faster you're going to learn something. So we learn that fast. It's hurry up and fail. We test all parts to failure, even if that's 20 million cycles. And so that's what I learned working at Chrysler. When I was working in the doors, I got to make these doors close 20 million times. And then test it out and see if something broke off or a handle broke or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, it's not good enough for it to work once. It's got to work 20 million times in a row.
And it's got to work 20 million times in the hot chamber, in the cold chamber, and at ambient. So you got to for the people that's in Arizona, the people in Alaska, it's a whole design engineering this, and that's what we share with these students. We want to expose them, engage them, and inspire them about STEM, because STEM's a part of their life whether they want it to be or not. And we teach them that you don't have to play the video game all day. Now you can design and develop the video game and get paid for it.
Mind blown.
It's totally different.
So STEM Fest coming to Bay City. Tell me about this.
This is gonna be huge, Phil. This is. I don't think I've ever been more excited about anything. This is going to be huge. And June 8th is our date that we have planned for the STEM Fest. I expect this to be. You know how you already talked about STEM Saturday and its impact. This is going to blow that off the water. This is not. This is a STEM Fest. Is a STEM Saturday times 20. And so it's just going to be mind blowing. So I attended a STEM Fest that Dr. Mackey had at the Superdome in New Orleans back in December. I went to this event.
At the Superdome?
At the Superdome, at his 10-year anniversary of starting STEM NOLA.
Wow.
So all these dreams, so my vision and dreams and all these things is, hey, I gotta sell out the Dow with the STEM Fest.
I believe it. I know you can do it. So say that I've got a 5-year-old daughter, Evelyn, and I want to sign her up for STEM Fest. What's her experience going to be? What is she going to see? What is she going to do? What is she going to learn?
So she's going to get to experience there's probably 3 or 4 different activities that lead up to building that car, which will teach her the different Newton's laws of force and motion, like drag and force and friction and those kind of things. So she'll do activities that lead up to building that car.
Cool.
So we even have one for her that's called Edible Car. So she'll build this car out of Oreos and other things.
Yeah.
And she'll build the car.
That's right up her alley.
And then she'll eat it.
Yeah.
So we have something for each grade group, and our STEM Center is just separated in grade groups like that.
Very cool.
And different activities that lead up to what we call the big build.
Yeah.
And so every student, we actually have, in all of the STEM Saturdays, and this STEM Fest is free as well. So we'll have food, snacks, all kind of stuff like that.
Awesome. Lots of learning, food, snacks, also community resources, a little information session for parents just to talk about what kinds of resources are available in the community. I love this idea of really creating a big one-day event that celebrates kids and learning in this kind of way. It's about doing, and it's about making, and like you said earlier, it's about getting them inspired about the potential in this field, whether you're 5-year-old or if you're in high school.
Correct. And in this STEM Fest, so STEM Saturday is one theme. So next Saturday we're doing Newton's laws of force and motion. That's it. this STEM Fest is going to have 30 plus different activities
Wild.
for these kids to be engaged with. And they might fall in love with just one of them and stay there for the whole 3 hours. We're okay with that.
Awesome.
Fall in love with something. And so there's going to be 30 plus different activities for these students to engage with for 3 hours.
Wow.
It's going to be awesome. We have a drone cage. We have robots. We have everything. It's going to be awesome.
So what we'll put in this post is QR code, the link for registration, so that folks listening to this, they can register. I'm really excited for the event itself, but I'm also really excited about the energy and the momentum that I think this event will create in kids. Just about the learning that they're doing at their home schools, about the possibility that they have in these various careers, but to really throw all these kids in the same spot at the same time, all losing their brains over eating their cars or playing with the drone or robots or whatever it is. Kids seeing other kids being excited about this stuff, I think can really be incredible.
It's going to be magic. I'm so looking forward to this, and this is my plan for the Bay County STEM Fest is for that to be our launch for STEM Saturdays in Bay City.
Very cool.
So the vision for that is for us to have STEM Saturday in Saginaw one weekend, Bay City the next weekend, Midland the next weekend, and Flint the next weekend. So we could have 4 STEM Saturdays
Oh
a
my
month.
goodness. Oh my goodness. It's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. I think you're amazing. Dante, thanks so much for bringing this to Bay City, bringing it to Saginaw, bringing it to all our kids here in the Great Lakes Bay region. You're incredible. Our kids are incredible, and it's just a match made in heaven.
Phil, I thank you so much for having me, buddy, and thank you so much. Hey, Bay City.
Thanks, Dante.
Thanks.
Heck yeah. STEM Fest, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go.